Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
Our ranch in Colorado was pretty big, about 80 acres of beautiful land where we raised Missouri fox trotters. We've been there for nearly 2 decades when this whole mess started. Some folks bought this weird strip of land behind our property. It was this narrow piece wedged between our back fence and a busy county road. My dad and I were surprised anyone would want to build there since they'd have to put their house pretty close to all that traffic. We never got to meet these people normally. Instead, the first contact we had with them was a lawyer's notice, saying our back fence was apparently between 3 to 6 inches over their property line. They didn't even try to talk to us first, just went straight to legal threats. Now, my dad was one of those genuine, down-to-earth types, always trying to do right by people. He called them up to meet and discuss the issue like adults. When they met, my dad tried to reason with them, suggesting they could work something out about the fence line. The neighbor just coldly stated that the law required us to move it because they wanted to build their house as far back from the road as possible. My dad pointed out that it was just a few inches and asked if it was worth all this trouble, even offering some alternatives. They shut him down immediately, threatening to sue us and bragging about how they had plenty of money from selling their California home that they weren't afraid to spend on legal action. My dad came home looking defeated. He just hung up his hat and told my mom in his quiet way that we'd gotten the kind of neighbors nobody ever wants to have. They sued us and won. We had 2 weeks to move the entire fence line. I helped my dad with all the work, being the free farm labor that all ranch kids end up being. It cost us a lot in materials and time, but we got it done before spring. They started building their house right after that, working through winter and into spring. The weekend after they moved in, my dad woke me up early to go to the lumber yard. He had this mischievous smile on his face as we loaded up fencing materials and supplies. When I asked what it was all for, he just told me I'd have to wait and see. We built a pig pen right near our back property line, directly behind their new house. The next day, one of Dad's friends brought over 6 pigs. But here's the thing. Dad insisted on feeding them table scraps and compost along with their regular feed. Anyone who knows anything about pigs knows that their waste smells absolutely horrible when they eat that stuff. I had to drive out there every day to take care of them, and let me tell you, the smell was so bad my eyes would water halfway there. When we cleaned the pen, Dad made sure we piled everything right next to it. I can't even imagine how bad it was for them in their house. Instead of talking to us, they went straight to their lawyers again. But this time, they lost. The area was zoned for agricultural use. My dad had done his research. We weren't breaking any laws or regulations. The pen was far enough from everyone else that it only bothered them. When fall came around, we sold the pigs for slaughter. Dad then stacked up building supplies next to the empty pen. When the neighbors came over screaming about it, my dad just smiled and explained that we were planning to expand the operation in spring since it had been so profitable. They put their house up for sale in January when the ground was frozen and buyers couldn't smell the pen. As soon as they left, we took down the entire thing and spread the waste on our hayfield. The new owners turned out to be great people. They're still friends with us today. You see, my dad had tried to be reasonable at first. He offered to sell them 5 acres of our wooded land at a great price so they could build further back from the road. They refused. He asked if we could move the fence gradually to spread out the cost. They refused. He even offered to get the county inspectors involved to find a solution. They refused everything and demanded immediate compliance. Some people just can't be reasoned with. I still remember the sweet taste of victory when I wiped that smug smile off my property manager's face in court. This happened about 5 years ago when my husband and I were struggling college students with a baby. We weren't exactly rolling in money, but we managed to afford a small duplex for $600 a month while trying to finish our degrees. Our property manager and his wife lived on the same street, managing this whole neighborhood of duplexes owned by some big company. When we found out we were having a baby, we did what any excited parents would do. We wanted to paint the nursery. The lease said we needed permission, so we asked the property manager. When we asked about painting, he was super casual about it, telling us to go ahead and not worry because they were pretty relaxed about these things. Being young and naive, we didn't get it in writing. Big mistake. Fast forward to when our lease was up and we were moving closer to my husband's school. Before moving out, we wanted to repaint the nursery back to its original color. When we asked him about the paint color we needed to use, he brushed us off, saying we shouldn't worry about it because they were going to repaint the whole place anyway since we'd been there so long. The move-out inspection seemed to go perfectly fine. There was just a small tear in the carpet near a doorway. The property manager assured us everything looked great and said we'd get our whole $400 deposit back minus a few bucks for the torn carpet. Then the waiting game began. Weeks passed, and our calls went unanswered or were met with empty promises. Finally, over a month later, I got through to him. He had the nerve to ask why we were so worried, saying we were only getting about $200 back anyway. When I questioned him about the rest, he tried to blame it on the painted nursery and claimed we'd left behind a huge mess. The only mess we'd left was a six-pack of beer as a thank you gift. I coldly told him we'd be taking this to court. Suddenly, he called back within an hour, claiming our refund check had mysteriously just shown up in the mail. We knew he was trying to scam us, so we recorded our conversation when we went to pick up the check. Totally legal in our state. The check was only for $200, with no itemized list of deductions. We managed to get him to admit on tape that he'd told us not to bother repainting and that the place looked great when we left. Instead of cashing the check, we emailed the company's chief executive officer, copying the property manager. The CEO responded with this supposedly official list of deductions that didn't even add up. By his own math, they owed us $230, not $200. While researching tenant laws to fight back, we discovered something beautiful. There was a law requiring landlords to return deposits with an itemized list within 30 days, or they'd lose the right to keep any of it. Not only that, but if they were found to be maliciously withholding the refund, they'd have to pay triple damages. We sent them a demand letter citing this law. When they brushed us off, we took them to small claims court for the full deposit plus triple damages. I spent the next month building our case like a seasoned lawyer. I gathered every email, documented every unanswered phone call, and even found screenshots from their website where the CEO claimed to be their legal advisor. I made 3 perfect binders with everything organized and highlighted. One for us, one for them, and one for the judge. Plus, we had that beautiful recording of the property manager contradicting his own lies. The CEO showed up thinking he could intimidate us with his "we will engage aggressively" attitude. He even tried to countersue us for $1,225 of expenses that he couldn't explain. The judge was impressed with our preparation, asking if we were law students. We told him we were just regular college students who did our homework. The judge actually laughed at how prepared we were. Looking at our evidence, he didn't just give us our deposit back. He awarded us triple damages plus court fees and interest. Instead of the $350 they originally owed us, they had to pay over $1,300. All those condescending emails and attempts to intimidate us had backfired spectacularly. It felt especially good knowing this guy probably made a career out of scamming low-income renters who couldn't afford to fight back. Not this time, though. Not this time. I recently switched jobs after spending years traveling non-stop for work. Being 28 and finally having weekends to myself, I decided to take my pride and joy. A 2008 Yamaha R1, it was custom pearl white paintwork, out for a proper ride through the Royal National Park. The bike wasn't just any R1. It had beautiful stencil art on both sides, showing a lady holding a rose skull, and I'd spent countless hours maintaining and customizing it. This bike had been my emotional support through tough times, always there when I needed to clear my head. That Sunday started great. I was having a blast racing with some guys on Ducatis and BMWs through the winding roads. We eventually stopped at this huge cliffside lookout over the ocean. It's a popular spot for bushwalkers, hang gliders, and other bikers, so there were quite a few people around. While chatting with the other riders, I noticed a young girl, probably around 10 or 11, admiring my R1. She seemed fascinated by the artwork, so I walked over to my bike. That's when her mother appeared, and everything went downhill. The mother asked me if I knew whose bike it was. I told her it was mine, explaining that I usually kept it as a show bike but wanted to let it loose this weekend. The young girl exclaimed how pretty and white it was. I smiled at her, but her mother immediately scoffed and declared that girls like me don't ride bikes like this. I was stunned. Sure, I'm 5'10" with a short black ponytail, but that comment was ridiculous. I pulled out my keys and started the bike. Both of them jumped back at the sound of the custom exhaust. The mother started yelling, demanding to know if I was trying to make them deaf. She then walked right up to my face and accused me of stealing the bike, calling me a smug witch. One of the Ducati riders I've been racing with came over, seeing the situation escalate. He asked if everything was okay. The mother immediately told him that I had stolen the bike and was trying to make her and her daughter deaf with it. The Ducati rider explained that he knew me, that we'd been on many rides together, and that this was definitely my bike. He also pointed out that there were many bikes louder than mine in the parking lot. The mother wouldn't hear any of it. She kept insisting I was a thief and that this was clearly a man's bike. That's when she noticed the highway patrol car parked outside and started screaming for the police. 2 officers rushed over and the mother immediately accused me of stealing the motorcycle and assaulting them with it. While one officer took the mother and her daughter aside, the other spoke with us. I showed him my registration papers, insurance, and license from the bike's tail compartment. He went to verify them in their car. After a brief discussion between the officers, they turned to the mother. Her face turned red with rage, and she did something I never expected. She kicked my bike hard in the fairing, sending it crashing onto the asphalt. My helmet, which was resting on it, got crushed in the process. I lost it. Before anyone could stop me, I punched her square in the face while still wearing my Kevlar knuckle bike gloves. She dropped like a sack of potatoes. The Ducati rider and another guy, who turned out to be a lawyer, had to hold me back. When one officer started to arrest me, the lawyer intervened. He warned the officer that arresting someone for taking defensive actions against their attacker could subject them to criminal and civil prosecution. When the officer asked if he was my lawyer, he confirmed it and handed over his business card. After that, the officers focused on arresting the mother instead. Meanwhile, I was in tears looking at my destroyed bike. We had to call a friend with a van to collect what was left of it. The damage ended up being over $5,000. The mother got 2 months in prison and 100 hours of anger management therapy. She also lost custody of her daughter. The civil case I won against her was substantial enough to build several custom bikes. But that wasn't the point. That R1 had been my companion through tough times, and seeing it destroyed like that was heartbreaking. My new bike is even better now, but I still sometimes think about that day. I can't understand what goes through people's minds when they act like that, especially in front of their children. After 20 years of working in corporate finance, I found myself at a crossroads. The endless cycle of spreadsheets and quarterly reports had begun to wear me down, and I yearned for something more tangible. That's when a group of fellow investors I'd met through various networking events approached me with an interesting proposition. There were 5 of us, all successful in our own right, looking to diversify our portfolios with something more hands-on than stocks and bonds. The restaurant franchise opportunity seemed perfect. A well-known brand, proven business model, and the chance to be part of something real. Being the one with the most business experience, I took point on the negotiations. Everything looked promising on paper. The sales figures were impressive, the location was prime, and the previous owner was eager to sell. Perhaps a bit too eager, as I would later discover. I signed the final paperwork as the primary owner, with my partners set to transfer their shares of the investment afterward. That's when things started going sideways. The first partner approached me with concerns about the investment. When I asked what was wrong, they explained they were having second thoughts and wanted to keep their capital liquid due to market conditions. One by one, they all backed out, leaving me holding the bag on a six-figure investment. But I'm nothing if not thorough, and something wasn't adding up. The first red flag came when customers started showing up asking for their special orders. A customer came in asking if the usual guy was working today. When I asked them to specify which employee they meant, they awkwardly mentioned something about the person who handles the extra menu items. Their tone made it clear they weren't talking about food. It didn't take long to piece together what was happening. The previous manager had been running a drug operation through my restaurant. Every time someone ordered a special burger with extra herbs, they weren't talking about seasoning. I started digging deeper. The sales figures in the prospectus were completely fabricated. I tracked down the accounting firm whose signature was supposedly on the documents. When I confronted them about signing off on the financial statements, the accounting partner was shocked, insisting they had never worked with this franchise. I showed them the documents, and they immediately called their legal team, recognizing the severity of the situation. The franchise headquarters wasn't any help either. The franchise owner tried to dismiss my concerns, telling me the market had dropped since I bought in, and while they could list it for sale, I wouldn't get my full investment back. When I brought up their overpriced commissary supplies, they simply stated it was non-negotiable according to the contract. I had the accounting firm analyze the commissary's price list. The markup was astronomical, up to 300% above market rates. I made sure every franchisee in the area got a copy of that report. When the district manager started showing up to issue fines, I recognized him from the security tapes. He was the one supplying drugs to the previous manager. I took the evidence straight to headquarters. I told them about their district manager dealing drugs through their restaurants. They initially laughed off my accusation until I mentioned sharing the price gouging evidence with other franchisees and placing liens on all their assets. They wrote me a check for my full investment that day, thinking it would shut me up. They were wrong. When the class action lawsuit from the other franchisees went to court, I was their star witness. The franchise owner stood up during my testimony, incredulously reminding me that they had paid me off and I had signed a release. I explained that they had merely refunded the money they had scammed from me, which didn't cover their criminal activities or what they did to the others. The case ended with the franchise owners losing everything. Their commissary was shut down, their assets were seized, and several of them faced criminal charges. The district manager got 15 years for drug trafficking. The main franchise owner's wife ended up leaving him after his Porsche was seized. She took their beach house in the divorce, which was fitting since he'd bought it with money stolen from honest business owners like me. I may have lost 6 months of my life to this ordeal, but watching their empire of lies crumble made it all worthwhile. I went back to corporate finance afterward, but this time with a new appreciation for due diligence and a story that never fails to entertain at business dinners. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.